Hello, and welcome back to another Goop Talk podcast. I am your host, Rainier Perez, and today I am joined by,
Anthony Morales.
And Matthew Gray.
and so today's topic will be on mental disorders.
So, you may be wondering to yourself, what are mental disorders? Well, mental disorders are a vast assortment of conditions that force a person to alter their mood, behaviors, and thinking. Mental disorders can cause many various weaknesses or limitations in a person. These effects can range from overly empowering emotions, unrealistic negative thoughts, or being much more sensitive to your surroundings. Allow us to speak upon common limitations of common mental disorders.
There exist five perspectives of mental disorders. The first one including the psychoanalytic perspective, which views mental disorders as the product of intrapsychic conflicts among the ID, the ego, and the superego. Now, we don't have much information on this perspective just yet, but we will get back to you on it on the next podcast.
Second perspective we have on the list is the humanist perspective, which looks at a person's feelings, self esteem, and self concept for the cause of mental behavior. Most common mental disorder that is associated with this perspective is anxiety.
Now, Anthony, have you ever felt anxiety in the past?
I believe I have, mostly in large groups that I have don't know or associate myself with.
I agree. Have you ever felt any anxiety, Matthew?
Definitely, and mostly for the same reason. Just, being in a big group with people I don't know or I'm not comfortable with.
I agree. I too experience anxiety, especially when I'm faced with a large crowd and I have to speak. Only me. I have to speak in front of the crowd. That's what's called stage fright. And I am trying to get over it, but it's not going well. So we shall move on to the next perspective.
So, the next perspective we have is the cognitive perspective, which essentially focuses on faulty, illogical, and negative ways of thinking. The most common mental disorder for this perspective is depression.
Now, Matthew, have you ever felt depressed or sad throughout your life?
Um, I'm not too sure if I can really say depressed necessarily, but I have definitely felt sad many times throughout my life. Um, whether it be because I did bad on a test or something bad happened at the moment.
Mm, okay. What about you, Anthony? Have you ever felt depressed or sad?
I don't want to self-diagnose myself as saying that I've been depressed or I've had depression before, but there's definitely been times where I have sad because of like Matthew said, failing a test, or like times where I feel like I did some horrible activity that I will disappoint people. I believe has high standards for me.
Mm, I agree. Because whenever I'm faced with schoolwork or any type of work, I feel like that if I don't get the job done perfectly, then I start to think bad about myself. But that's just me. And so moving on to the next perspective.
Perspective we have on this list is the behavioral perspective, which essentially is about the stress that abnormal behavior is learned from. Most common mental disorder that is associated with this perspective is shell shock, which is PTSD, and ADHD.
Now, Anthony, do you have or do you think you have either ADHD or PTSD?
Honestly, I wouldn't be so sure because like I haven't really, I don't fully understand myself at the moment.
Mm, okay. Now, if you didn't know, PTSD is post traumatic shock disorder, which basically means you are considerably like afraid of something in the heat of the moment and it may have left a scar or a faulty way of thinking towards a certain person, object, or event. And ADHD is, in simple terms, when you basically cannot focus on one thing or another and you usually get sidetracked. Now, Matthew, have you ever felt like you have ADHD or PTSD?
Um, I would definitely say I feel like I've experienced PTSD before. Um, because there has been so I definitely feel like I have experienced PTSD before because there has been a lot of stressful moments throughout my life. Whether it be like a time I've gotten injured from something or
Mm,
a time I've gotten in trouble for something. It makes me not want to have the event happen again because I'm scared that the same result will happen. You know.
mm. Yes, I fully understand. See, I don't want to self-diagnose myself either, but I think I have ADHD because it's really hard for me to focus on one thing, especially when I have my phone right in front of me. It's really hard for me to focus. And Miss Freeman, I know you're listening. I know you can hear this, and you, for one, can advocate for this. But yes, I think that I have ADHD because it's really hard for me to focus, especially during a lesson, because sometimes, in all honesty, I sometimes find it boring depending on the topic. Now, the last perspective that we have for today is
The final perspective that we have for today is the biological perspective, which argues that many psychological disorders are caused by hormonal or neurotransmitter imbalances, differences in brain structure, and inherited predispositions, with the most common mental disorder associated with this being split personality disorder.
now, Matthew, do you know what split personality disorder is?
No, I don't. Could you please explain?
So basically, a split personality disorder is basically in the name. So basically, you have a ton of personalities or personas that are basically embedded into your mind, that in which you can change to them from time to time, whether it be throughout the course of the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year, however it happens. It may happen at different times, but considerably, split personality disorder is just an assortment of personas that your body has imagined itself as, in which you change to throughout the day or throughout your life. Anthony, would you like to say anything?
So, would you say that SPD, split personality disorder, is a way to cope or to cope events that may happen during your day?
Oh, yes, I definitely can because I feel like SPD can definitely be a result of a shocking event that happened, which where if someone is faced with a similar event to a traumatic event that they experienced, they could fall into like a sort of state where they think their brain has to make the person fall into this persona that matches the event in which they originally reacted. Now, if you would like more elaboration on that, please ask me so. But we will move on to the next topic, which is
Diathesis stress model, which happens to be produced by David Rosenthal, 1960s, which is a study of a family with quadruplets who all happen to develop schizophrenia. Otto recognizes that a combination of biological and environmental causes of psychological disorders.
now we have some common limitations of mental disorders. Now, these limitations include bad time management, an inability to multitask, difficulty in prioritizing tasks, hard time interacting with others, trouble in fitting in, struggling reading social cues, fearing authorities, incorrectly understanding criticism, trouble coping with change, limited ability to tolerate crowds or noises, decreasing in stamina, struggle to stay focused, and memory loss. Now then, that's all the time we have for today. I would like to thank Anthony Morales and Matthew Gray for their time. And as always, have an amazing day. Goop Talk signing out.